Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Celestial Garden Show. I'm your host, Shanice, and this is your weekly transit talk where we break down the astrology for the week ahead so you can move through it with more clarity, alignment, and intention. This episode is for the week of Monday, August the 18th through Sunday, August the 24th, 2025. And the energy this week, it's giving unraveling with grace. We are wrapping up Leo season this week with a soft but emotionally layered week. Most of the astrology for this week is basically moon aspects or transits, but do not let that fool you. We are entering eclipse season this with this new moon cycle that we're headed off into on Sunday or starting this Sunday. We have the lunar eclipse that's happening this lunar cycle on September the 7th, but we'll get to that probably the week after next. So this week we are only focusing on the new moon in Virgo. There's something deeply emotional that's starting to surface with this new moon's energy. This week literally ends with that new moon at 0 degrees. So for most of the week, we are in a seed planting type of energy. But first, you have to learn how to surrender if you haven't already. So you might start to make quiet pivots, have some tender revelations, and start getting real about what your healing looks like now. So let's get into this week's episode, starting with the this week's tarot card, which is the moon grounded by the Nine of Pentacles. So the moon says we are navigating unknown territory emotionally, spiritually, and even for some of us financially. So you might ask, with this card combo, what does it say about my life right now? Well, this week or month, since we're entering Virgo season, it's saying that things are going to probably be foggy, dreams are going to be more vivid, and your intuition is probably trying to tell you something, but it might not be in a language your logical mind understands just yet. So the Nine of Pentacles here underneath the card says, trust your growth even in the mystery. You've built something worthy of stability. So this week isn't about rushing for answers, it's about honoring what you've already cultivated while making space for deeper truths to emerge. It's more of like a rich soil type of week. So water your garden even if you can't see the sprouts starting to form yet. Now, let's get into some financial astrology. Well, this week is a bit more subtle. We start off this week subtle with the new moon beginning to build. So it's important to pay attention to the undercurrents that are building all the way up until Saturday with that Virgo new moon. So, Virgo rules routines, labor, and systems. So, right now, this week, it's a perfect time to refine your refine your budget. Excuse me. Reassess your daily income strategy, or even start a new financial habit. With the sun entering Virgo on Friday and Venus squaring Chiron, which is retrograde in Aries right now, that same day, some old money wounds might start to surface or some self worth stories might get triggered. But it's not to set you back, it's actually a healing checkpoint for you. So if you are a trader, look at the moon's aspects in the middle of this week, especially around Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday night, it's going to bring some moon Uranus trines, and the moon is also going to trine Neptune. So that energy is intuitive pattern recognition on 100. Um, so if you've been experimenting with some trading strategies, those aspects are great for locking in something that feels more spiritually aligned and is grounded in your practice. Also, Uranus is heavily activated this week on Friday and Sunday. So expect some unexpected news around some tech, stocks, crypto, or AI. Stay flexible and don't let sudden shifts rattle your longer vision or your trading strategy. Now, let's get into this week's energy. We have pretty much a soft week, a quiet week starting off. There's no major planetary transits happening Monday or Wednesday, but we get somewhat of a tone shift on Friday when the sun enters Virgo and then Venus is squaring Chiron, which is retrograde, like I mentioned before. So the new moon on Saturday is at 0 degrees Virgo. It's opening a new emotional and energetic cycle that's deeply tied to how we manage our time, energy, and purpose. Virgo is that service oriented energy, it's the worker bee type of energy. So, Uranus is also a key player this week, like I mentioned before. This week, we are getting hit with some moon energy with Uranus, and then squared by the sun. So the sun in Virgo, newly in Virgo, will square Uranus on Sunday. So expect some inner restlessness, maybe some intuitive downloads, or even some sudden surprises. But Uranus is the planet that is all about rebellion and breaking you free, liberating you. So it's trying to break some sort of pattern. If you do have a sudden surprise, good or bad. If you're feeling like you want to change everything, but can't quite name why, that might be that Uranus energy bubbling up this week for you. So let's get into the daily breakdown starting on Monday, August the 18th. It's an emotionally layered and slightly scattered day. We're floating through, shifting through thoughts, probably in feelings. The moon enters Cancer in the middle of Monday, and it activates some tough emotional patterns. So it's going to talk to Saturn and Neptune. How might this manifest? So you might feel one way in the morning and totally different by the afternoon. Some emotional fatigue, some sudden realizations about where you've been overly responsible for others with that Cancerian energy. And also the moon squaring Uranus. That's all about the self. So, what could you do on Monday? Try to journal about your emotions. Don't force any clarity, especially with this moon and that foggy energy bubbling up to the new moon. So, try to journal about your emotions and make space for a good cry with that Cancer energy. Jupiter is in Cancer, supporting that right now as well. So, um, you can also nourish yourself and eat something comforting, something that's nostalgic for you. Take breaks from the screens. I can't stress that enough. Scrolling, doom scrolling. No, try to get connected with your reality and get off of social media if you can on Monday. So, some questions that you can ask yourself: what emotional pattern is asking for attention? Where do I feel obligated but not nurtured? What would it look like to soothe myself right now without judgment? So let's head over to Tuesday, August the 19th, 2025. It's more of a productive day, but you may have some moments of tension. The Cancer moon is active and bold on Tuesday. It's pushing us to advocate towards ourselves, motivated by that Aries energy, that Aries tension squaring that Aries energy. So how might this manifest? Emotional conversations, feeling simultaneously tender and determined, some gut checks around boundaries or home and family situations. What you can do on Tuesdays is use the Sun trine Chiron retrograde in Aries to rewrite some old narratives. If you feel like you're about to spiral, pause and reframe. Let your heart lead before you spiral, and ground yourself. Questions that you can ask yourself: where have I healed more than I gave myself credit for? What pattern am I finally ready to outgrow? And what would emotional safety look like right now? Okay, so now for Wednesday, August the 20th, 2025, some emotional wisdom might come in. You might get some clarity, some divine clarity. It's a potent day for integration and inner work. So, what have you learned? What uncomfortable situations might have taken place in Leo season or this past Mercury retrograde that you can now integrate? And you have this inner knowing on how to navigate those situations now. The moon lights up Venus, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto all on Wednesday when it enters Leo. in the evening. So how might this energy manifest on Wednesday? Like I said, I don't know if I said this or not, but heightened intuition or some divine clarity, emotional downloads, sudden insight into something you've been carrying. And it might have felt like a burden. You can finally release that and start integrating what you learned about that on Wednesday. Some other things that you can do: let your evening be slow, let it be sacred and intuitive. Some music, meditation, or even a soft bath can help you on Wednesday to channel this energy. So, some questions that you can ask: what emotional truth is rising to the surface? Where am I ready to release control? And what am I finally ready to receive? So, let's head over to Thursday, August the 21st, 2025. We are mentally activated on Thursday, possibly with this moon energy in Leo, but it could also be somewhat low key. So it could show up as lots of thoughts, flashes of inspiration, or just craving to be seen with that Leo moon energy. And also the sun is in the final degrees of Leo on Thursday. So this energy may be a bit potent because it's at the final degrees. It's collecting data on everything that you've learned this Leo season. So how might this manifest? Wanting to create or express something, but not knowing how to structure it. Short burst of motivation might show up. So, some things that you can do with this energy: capture your ideas today, but don't force execution. Just putting it in your notes app will help, and you can come back to it. We're still in that Mercury retrograde shadow period. Yes, Mercury is direct, but she's still catching up with speed, so, and gaining momentum. So, things might move a bit slower for the next week or two when she gets out of shadow, or until she gets out of shadow period. So the moon is void on Thursday afternoon. So treat it as a day to reflect rather than initiate. That's how we should treat most of this week, to be honest, because we are in that seed planting, um, manifesting type of energy for this new moon in Virgo that's happening on Saturday. So, some questions that you can ask yourself on Thursday: what wants to be expressed? How can I give my creativity more space? What conversations have I been rehearsing in my head that need to be released? So let's move over to Friday, August the 22nd, 2025. And Friday is filled with some subtle discomfort potentially, and also some emotional breakthroughs. It's a new type of tone. You might feel it honestly on Friday, especially with Uranus being so activated this week in another mutable sign, Gemini. So you might feel that shift when Virgo season starts on Friday. How might this manifest? A reality check about something you thought you've healed. That's that Virgo energy. It's the energy of the healer. It wants to give its service. You could also be feeling sensitive or raw around rejection and value. Now, Venus is not comfortable in Virgo. So, Virgo season tends to be a bit more critical. It's not really comfortable doing hedonistic things. So please be patient and graceful with yourself this Virgo season. That might get triggered on Friday when the sun enters, that criticism might get triggered on Friday when the sun enters Virgo. So what's some things that you can do with this energy on Friday? Like I said, show yourself some grace, be gentle with yourself, start planting new habits around how you show up for yourself, recommit to your own healing without needing it to be perfect. That Virgo energy strives for excellence and perfectionism. As long as you're striving for it, you'll reach it. But don't beat yourself up about it if you aren't reaching the marks the way you see yourself. That's that perfectionism, and it can kind of like block you from achieving your goals. So, some questions to ask yourself with this Friday energy: what parts of me still believe I need to be perfect to be loved? What emotional wound is asking for a new response? And where am I ready to show up more responsibly for my daily life? So Saturday, August the 23rd, is the day of the week that is really potent with this astrology energy. It's the new moon in Virgo. So this is cleansing and a sacred reset. It's deep internal clarity, even if you can't fully explain it yet. That's that Virgo energy. It's the energy of the organizer and declutterer. So, how might this manifest? A desire to clean, organize, detox, or commit to a new rhythm, some strong emotional realizations around your life is probably going to show up, like what is or isn't working. That's that Virgo energy. It wants to perfect things. So, what to do with Saturday's new moon energy? Set some intentions rooted in real sustainable change. Virgo loves to be practical. Make your rituals and your routines with this new moon energy as practical as possible. It loves simplicity. So let go of the illusions of perfectionism, and this energy is offering a new healing arc if you allow it. So some questions that you can ask yourself: what habit or mindset no longer serves the life I want? Where is structure actually a form of self-love? And what small daily rituals will help me feel grounded in purpose? Okay, so Sunday, the last day of the week, August the 24th, you might get a jolt of energy. You might feel restless. It might bring an eye opening moment. So the sun squares Uranus and shakes things up on Sunday. How might this manifest? A sudden insight or a craving to break your out of your routine. Some tension between old systems and your future visions might start to bubble up. So what you can do with Sunday's energy: allow space for experimentation. That's that Uranus energy. It's creating new ways of thinking. So it's trying to break old toxic ways or old patterns that are no longer sustainable for you. Don't make any impulsive decisions, but honor your desire for change on Sunday. Some questions that you can ask yourself with this energy: what truth have I been avoiding because it would change everything? Where do I need to give myself more freedom? And what does the next evolution of me look like? And am I ready to meet him or her? All right, y'all. So that pretty much wraps up this week's episode of Transit Talk. If this week feels like you're floating between old cycles and new commitment, you are aligned and right on time. The new moon in Virgo is asking us to slow down, listen closer, and recommit to ourselves in a way that actually works long term. So if this episode resonated with you, make sure you share it with a friend, tag me in your stories, or leave a comment or review to wherever you're hearing this from, and spread the word. If you're starting to feel the shifts with this eclipse season entering or coming in, and want to dive deeper into personal transits, make sure you are following me and subscribed to this podcast. Until next time, take it slow and trust the process. See you guys next week.